Hey everyone, Chris Rudolph from Logo here. I'm with the cast members from Netflix's Armistead Maupin's Tales of the City. Hi everyone. Hi. We have Charlie Barnett, Garcia, Murray Bartlett, and Mei Hong. And so first I wanted to ask, what is Tales of the City about?
It's queer people living under one roof that are, no one is biologically related to each other. And Armistead quotes that we all have our logical families, and I think that Tales does a good job of creating that image of what it looks like to live with people that love you for you, and outside of your biological family, because that's logically right. Yeah, it's a bunch of people living under one roof that love each other for exactly who they are, and it's a very supportive and kind of almost, I feel like, a utopic idea of what it would look like if you could pick your family and also live with them.
So I'm super jealous that you got to live on Barbary Lane, even if it was just pretend. So
in Yonkers, New York.
So what was it like walking onto that iconic set, for the first time? Like, what was that like?
I was like, oh, should I have another apartment?
I wish. That place was fat. Yeah, I would love to live there, even if it is on a studio. Shoot.
Yeah, it was very surreal, but very, very, very beautiful.
And what was it like working alongside Tales legends Laura Linney and Olympia Dukakis?
They're really difficult. Didn't you find? I mean, they're not very nice people. They're like, no, it was phenomenal. They're like, really wonderful people, and were very generous and kind of took care of us all. Yeah. And are just amazing actors, so they just make you better when you're working with them. It was an incredible experience.
Yeah, it was so, I couldn't believe how comfortable they made us feel, and also how generous they were with their time, and obviously freaky when Laura takes your phone from your hand and puts her number in. It's like, call me anytime. Oh it's like, I can't. Like, oh my God, what? But they were so incredible, and beyond the talent that we all always see, it's just, they're so wonderful.
It was also, I think, the show is about community and family, and it was, it became that, for me anyway, that was my experience. It became a real sort of family and real kind of community, in the same way that it happens in Barbary Lane, where these more established people in the show and just in life really kind of took care of us all, and totally. It was a really, it was a very great experience.
And Murray, this question's for you. I feel there's going to be comparisons between your looking character, Dom, and Mouse. So can you talk about the difference between the two characters?
Yeah, I've got the kind of monopoly on playing gay men in San Francisco, which I'm not complaining about. I feel like, to me, in my mind, you tell me when you see it, but they feel very different. Mouse, the character I play in Tales of the City, is a little older than Dom, who's the character I play in Looking, and they have a very different experience because of that. I think Mouse went through the AIDS epidemic years in a way that was very different to Dom. Dom kind of missed that a little bit. Mouse lost a lot of the people that he loved, became HIV positive at a time when that was a death sentence, or felt like a death sentence, faced his own mortality, went through that incredible period of transformation, really, through that kind of trauma. And, Mouse is this very buoyant, kind of boyish character, but he, now when we see him, has this incredible, I think, this depth out of going through that, that amazing period of life, having to face all those things and deal with loss and trauma. Whereas Dom, from Looking, I feel like was just sort of skating along, not going very deep until, the show started, and the point that the show started, he was starting to think maybe he should think a bit deeper. So he's sort of at the beginning of that. So I think if they met, they'd probably get along, but Mouse would be like, all right, you haven't seen anything. But yeah, Dom's will probably be a little in awe of Mouse's kind of experience.
And this is a question for all of you. What was your favorite scene to shoot?
I don't know why, but all I have stuck in my head right now, and I'm not even in this scene, but I had such an enjoyable time watching all of you do it. At the very end, and I don't think I'm giving anything away, at the very end there's a moment when everybody's on the roof and they let out these candles, I'll say, lanterns. Yes. The show definitely breaks off into these kind of individual storylines, but when we get the opportunity to see everybody together, it's super, super special. So that was one of them. One of those moments that I can't tell you about, but there's something that happens at the end where everybody's together, and it's my favorite moment. Use that.
And so Tales of the City debuted in 1976, and a lot has changed for the queer community, and a lot hasn't. So, and this is a question for all of you, or any of you who wants to take it. Why is Tales still relevant today?
There's still a lot of work
There's
to be
so
done.
much, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
It's fun.
so
It's
much
like,
to do.
I guess this is always particular to where you are in your situation, but it never feels like, even looking at what we've gotten, what I was born into, being a person of this community, the gifts, I guess, or the mountains that I didn't have to climb, I'm unbelievably thankful for. I recognize each one of them wholeheartedly, but there's still a lot more to come, and I don't think that will ever really end. I think it's part of what makes minorities or marginalized groups so strong. Not that it's needed to build that out, but it's one of the things that I think is beautiful about it. So the fight continues and continues and continues until the end.
And I hope that this show speaks to people who feel that they haven't been seen and heard, but there are so many more people that will. I'm sure it's always like where you see a close enough version of yourself sometimes and you're like, that's not really. And so there's just so much more to do. And I mean, how many Gaysians have you seen on TV? Like, it's just, it's really exciting.
Yeah, I think also, Tales of the City's always been like a safe space, particularly for the queer community, and there is still a lack of safe spaces. And there's a lot of queer kids growing up in unsupportive environments, and a show that speaks to the possibility of community and of family and being able to be, truly who you are and be accepted for that, and encouraged to be who you are in your community is such a wonderful thing. And this show has always been that and kind of continues to be that for like a new generation. I hope.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll create a safe space for people. Paul Gross, one of the actors in the show, was talking about an interview he did with someone somewhere in Eastern Europe, and I can't remember the country, but Poland, I think it might have been Poland. And the interviewer was saying, I just hope you know how powerful this show is going to be for us, because we, this speaks to freedoms that we don't have, and it's going to be a really kind of profound and wonderful gift for a lot of the people watching in that part of the world and in other parts of the world. So, I hope it will be that. I think Tales of the City's always been that, and I think it still is. It still is. There's still a long way to go, and a need of those kind of safe spaces.
We were talking about it the other day, but there's still so many voices that aren't reflected through this story, yeah. And it's a challenge, I think, with many LGBTQ plus storylines that you look. There's like 4 out there, right? We got to get it all in. We got to try and get everybody represented, and that's impossible. Yeah. So there's still a lot more to go. But I think particularly for ours, I hope that we're creating more of a tangible voice for the trans community, because they are, for generations, I know just from my own community as a gay man, like there's some shit that we like limited them from, and there's a lot of changes that need to be made and voices that need to be heard. Sorry.
Garcia, anything?
I second all of this.
Well, thanks for joining us. And you can catch Tales of the City when it drops on Netflix this Friday, June 7th, worldwide.